Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Enlighten the Youth. This is episode 6, and today we bring on
Virk.
Raju Virk. He is the, what would you say, the president?
Yeah, I don't really like to say that word, but I like to say one of the co-founders
Yep.
of Breaking the Silence.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's the co-founder of Breaking the Silence, which is a mental health walk. And today we're just going to learn a little bit about Raju and go into the details of that and then pick up on some advice because he's had a lot going on with Breaking the Silence and it's really cool to see it all come together. So we'll start off with just a little summary of who is Raju Virk.
Yeah, I guess Raju Virk, Raj Virk is a 40-plus-year-old individual that was born and raised here in beautiful Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, it was one of those, we were speaking earlier, that everyone knew everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were first generation, just like your mom and dad of Canadians. So growing up here, like I said, it was a very tight-knit community. It was like the times were amazing,
Mm-hmm.
growing up, you're always outside playing hockey, street hockey, on the bike. Times obviously aren't like that as much as they were before. But, growing up, I was, very big into soccer. Wrestling was one of my passions, not WWE, but, Olympic style
You
wrestling.
didn't get into that? Like watching WWE,
No, I did.
Undertaker?
I
Okay,
did.
you're into both of them.
Yeah, I did, but my type of wrestling was more that Olympic style.
Yep.
So, city champion in that, soccer, and just in general, just always, doing something active was my go-to when I was, growing up here in Edmonton.
Did you find that doing something active could, or were you using it just as a way to keep busy and it was something you enjoyed doing, or did you ever use it for like coping with mental health, or like what was your purpose for joining all these different activities?
I'll be very honest with you. Mental health, first of all, wasn't even talked about back then. So, the question that you asked, did I do it to cope my mental health? No. It was sheer passion of wanting to be outside, wanting to play sports, wanting to be around other people that played sports. Like, I absolutely loved it. I would be, especially on the weekends or now, summer holidays are coming, I wouldn't even be at home.
Yeah.
I would basically be outside playing until, you got to go inside type of thing.
Yeah.
And then back at it the next day, But it was just that energy that I had and the energy that I had around me for sports and the passion that I couldn't sit still like how I am right now. Like just got to be going do something active.
Yeah. Is that something that you kind of inherited from family? Just kind of that go, go, go mentality, like let's always be doing something?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, my dad's a very passionate individual when it comes down to, like he'll always have 3-4 people with him all the time, when he's out. Even at home, he's got to have people around. So I think that's a trait that I've probably picked up more and more now, getting older, that you want to be around those people that bring that same type of energy, and the same type of passion that you have. So yeah, I'd say definitely, growing up, with the household that we had, you wanted to be, around people, being active, not just sitting still.
How important is it to slow down once in a while?
Very important. Very important. Especially with age, like when I was, 21 to 40 now, it's a huge difference. It's, not only mentally, but physically too. It takes a toll on you. Now there's times that, it's like, no, I don't want to do anything. I just want to stay home.
Yeah.
I've had a great day at work. I've already done my gym. Now it's like, I'll still watch sports. I love sports. I'll watch sports and just relax. Gone are really my days of really go in the sense of like, going out or doing any of that. I don't have that passion to do it anymore.
So if you're not playing sports and you're watching them.
100%. Yeah. If it's not playing, it's watching. And just getting the enjoyment out of that and seeing, the new youth come up and really perform, I'm also coaching my daughter's soccer, which, that's been phenomenal. Just kids, and being involved in their sports is very important. Like for me, I coached my little cousin Sita with Juventus for years. They're a great team. After they grew up, I kind of took a step back, got into the car business where, it's still I'm in the car business, but it's tough to do both.
Yeah.
So I'm adjusting to that. But when it comes down to coaching your children, I wanted to kind of be that parent that sat back and watched the child, but it's tough to find good coaches out there.
Yeah.
So
in what sense? Like you just wanted to be hands off and have people to take care of that certain aspects?
Yeah, like I wanted to be that parent, sit back, relax, watch my, daughter play.
Yeah.
But the quality of coaching, and then I thought to myself, I'm like, if I can do this and I can support my child and support other kids out there too to coach, why not do it?
Yeah.
Because youth soccer, snap of a finger, it's gone. It's done.
What do you mean?
Well, in the sense of, from 8 to 14, that's kind of your crucial ages of playing sports.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
After that, a child may not play.
Yeah.
So why not enjoy that period and see them develop, and then hopefully they do pursue it? Because like I said, if snap of a finger, it's done in the sense of there's no more youth soccer.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be ladies, or maybe they're playing university level, and getting to the professional level is very, very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But there's other levels that they can play after the youth.
Yeah. Did you pursue any of the sports that you were playing past like the early phases of just kind of doing it as a passion?
You know what? I didn't. And that, I shouldn't say it's a regret. It's something that I wish I had. But, I kind of got into things I shouldn't have gone into, put it that way. And I still remember my coach for wrestling, Al Lowry, and I adore the gentleman. He told me, he goes, you know what, Raj? You will make the Olympics one day if you stick to it, if you continue doing what you're doing. But, come high school, everything changes.
Yeah.
Your environment changes, the people you're with change, your mentality changes. The mentorship that I had obviously wasn't there, and, hence the reason, I didn't keep pursuing it. I'll use Mike Tyson as a prime example. Mike Tyson, after his coach had passed away, was just a complete mess, because his coach was his actual mentor / father that kept him together, that kept him, in peace of who he is.
Yeah.
And after he lost him, all hell broke.
Yeah.
Mentally for him.
Yeah.
Physically, still in great shape, but it's the mind that just, he wasn't there. And he admits it too.
Yeah. No, I've definitely watched up on a lot of Tyson and him talking about how he was like a father figure to him and kind of keeps him in line.
Yeah.
I mean, I got him up on my list. So I actually know a little bit of something about
100%. Yeah. Right? I mean, I had the opportunity, to watch him, not live, but, on TV and stuff, on pay-per-view, and the man was just the phenom,
Yeah.
I still remember we'd rent, pay-per-view, and pay-per-view at that time would cost like $80-$90. That's a lot of money
For a single
fight.
So you're basically paying what you would now to go in person. Well, not quite, but
Not quite.
I mean, that conversion must be similar.
I guess, but I mean, back then it was expensive, and some of his fights would last about 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And then my dad would see the bill the next day. He's like, "What is this charge?" Not next day, but like next month. Yeah. And then I'd explain it to him, and he's like seriously, Yeah. But like I said, the man just had it, but mentally, losing someone so important to him is what
Exactly.
caused his downfall.
Would you say it's pretty vital to have an accountability partner in a game of like even with trying to stay on track with what you are currently doing? Do you have someone to constantly check up on you? Like, where's everything at? Are you staying on track? Is this going well? Kind of like a personal trainer, but for life.
You know what? A good question. I really don't. And I'll tell you the reason why it's really kept me focused. About 3 years ago, I gave up drinking. Right? Drinking had really taken over my life. Drinking had basically put me in this black hole where I couldn't see a light at all. Right? That's where I really, looked myself in the mirror, and I tell you this because it was looking myself in the mirror.
Yeah.
what are you doing, right? What are you doing with your life? You're putting these events on. You're not helping yourself. Like, you need to change yourself. And when I say snap of a finger, it was a snap of a finger. I quit cold turkey. Coming up on September, it's going to be 3 years of, sobriety.
Congrats.
Thank you. But it was me really focusing on me and myself, right? I'm one to, say that I've gone to a deep, deep hole, but I've crawled out of it, right? Now, breaking the silence, we'll get into it, but it's such a passion that I have that I keep myself very accountable, right? And I surround myself with people that I want to, have the same passion with. Doing something like this, you can't just take someone off the street and be like, hey, this is what you're going to do now for breaking the silence. It just won't work, right? I shouldn't say I've tried it. I have tried to bring some people on, but they just didn't have the passion for it. Where this really, keeps me accountable for what I'm doing, right? We had our walk, which is a phenomenal success, a few weeks ago now. Just, and people at the event, they're like, how do you feel? And I told them, I'm like, I need a day after the event to really
comprehend what is
going on. Yeah. Like when I see it, it's just like incredible. Like all the smiles of the people, all the faces, all the activities that are going on. But the next day when I really sit back, and watching sports while I'm doing this, going, wow, another successful event, 10 years,
and each time better than the next.
That's the thing, each time it keeps getting better and better and better, and now, starting to add more events to it as well. But everyone's different, right? I'm different, you're different. So I do, agree that you should have someone that, can mentor you, can check up on you and stuff. But, in a sense, I kind of created this with other, peers out there as well, where I've stuck to it and really put myself in that situation of I need to set the bar very high, because I give it about 10 years, and, it's like anything, you're going to hand that baton on, maybe it's to my daughter, maybe it's to another child of, one of the other co-founders. But someone is going to, where if I set that bar very high and these children that are watching, where Zara, my oldest one, she's like, Dad, I really want to get more involved. They see that, and now I can be their mentor.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely. Why do you think that mental health is talked about more so now than it has been in the past?
I think the biggest reason, Roman, is the generation, right? Us, and I'll mention your parents as well, being first generation Canadians, our parents, their parents, I should say my parents and your parents' parents, they came to a country to make money so we, you now can have a better life, where their focus was all making sure we were okay. Mentally, there was nothing that they could really talk about because there wasn't really those resources out there either. If you think about it now, like, there's clinics that are opening up. There's people that are becoming professionals in those fields. It wasn't around, right? Now more and more students are graduating and they want to get into the mental health field. It wasn't around. So I think the main reason behind that is because it just wasn't around. The resources as much as they are now.
Do you think that there's demand because there's supply now? Or do you think that there's supply because there's demand?
I would say there's supply because there's demand, right?
Okay.
Was there demand then? Probably, but it wasn't spoken about, right? It was very brushed under the mat.
Yeah.
Where, even if you look at cancer, where cancer's come, as an organization, and I shouldn't say cancer as an organization, but there's organizations out there that are, raising money for cancer. Yeah. But that was something else that people didn't talk about, until Terry Fox did, this magical run that he did, where people started to talk about cancer more.
Yeah.
People started to, donate more to cancer.
Yeah.
that's the same movement that I've created with, my other peers, that it's a movement. And I tell people, you are now part of the movement. And this movement started here.
Yeah.
But it's not going to finish until we're all part of this movement together, right? Because we live in a society where everyone is equal, right? It doesn't matter what my skin color is or yours is or anyone's. But this here is all the same, right? So if we can all be part of this movement, making sure that we can all support each other or others, we're now thriving to be a better, individual in society.
Yeah, definitely. What like if someone is going through something, what's the word? What opportunities are there for them to reach out and seek help? Like, what would you recommend for someone that's going through something? Just peers, or how have you dealt with it yourself in the past?
So for me, it's really having people, obviously reach out to me. And the reason for that is, obviously being the face of Breaking the Silence, and it's a lot of males that are reaching out. And, males, us obviously being males, we have this image, and everyone knows this image. We're macho. We don't talk about it. We keep this in us. But these, so-called machos, you're not really macho. The macho ones that can actually talk about it. Like we'll use Mike Tyson. He's in front of us right now. He's a macho man. Mentally he wasn't. But now he is, because he's talking about it. He's talking about his addictions he's gone through. He's talking about his, his problems that he had mentally, talking about it. That is a macho man, right? That is a man that not only physically is macho, but mentally is macho too. And when it comes down to them reaching out, I tell people, especially when it comes down to the drinking side of it, I'm not an expert, right? By no means am I. I'm an expert at selling cars, but when it comes down to this, no. What I've created is something so passionate to making sure I can guide people into the right direction to get that help from professionals.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So for me, I will support them and I will tell them what I did and how I did it. But Roman, you may not be able to do it the same way that I did it, right? However, I can get you that counselor or get you the resources that you need, because we have all those tied up. Like at the walk this year, we had over 30, actually it was right on 32 organizations in the mental health and wellness, group, you can call it.
That's fantastic.
Which was amazing.
Yeah.
So that's 32 that we didn't have before, but we have now, where we can guide.
Yeah. Every year I see a girl.
Yeah.
I'll come and I'll be like, oh, there's another tent this year. Oh,
exactly.
Tent.
Yeah. Like we went from 4 to 5 tents now because we had 32 tables.
Yeah.
Now we might have to just cap it at 32.
Yeah.
Otherwise there's going to be lineups, which is awesome. But, that just shows that, where I was your age, there wasn't what we have right now. And that's another thing that I'm showing these children that are growing up, that these events are meaningful. And the reason why they're meaningful is because we have meaningful organizations there.
Yeah.
Like if we're just going to be there, which is free lunch and free breakfast, but you don't have the meaning towards it, for me, it's a flop of an event.
Yeah.
But if people can take the meaning out of it, take it home, give it to others, that's meaningful.
Yeah.
Right?
It is definitely a beautiful thing. Well, like coming to the events, you feel the energy. And it's beautiful to see people come to unite for an event like that.
Right.
Everybody's there for the same reason. You're all doing like the stretches together. I love that part.
Yeah.
The stretches, going on the walk. It's a very uniting event. I feel like that in itself is already helping mental health.
100%.
Just the community. I feel like that's a really big part of it.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful that you provide something like that, as well as all the other things that you're doing with it.
Yeah.
How would you say sobriety has helped your mental health journey?
Big time. Like now, waking up in the mornings, not looking for that next drink. Waking up in the morning now, going to the gym. Waking up in the morning with a fresh start to the day, knowing that there's no regrets from last night. You know, waking up in the morning, clear-minded, you know, my skin's better, mentally, physically, like everything is better, you know. Now there's people out there that can have one drink, but, you know, I joke around with some people. There's a commercial back in the day. It was a Lay's commercial with Mark Messier. Mark Messier is eating these chips, and he goes to the guy and he goes, "Hey, I bet you just can't have one." And he goes, "I bet you I can." Takes one chip, and it was so good, goes back and has another one.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it was with my drinking.
Yeah.
You know, if you said, you know, "Raju, have one,"
Yeah.
I'd say, "There's no way I can."
Yeah.
And that's what it is. You know, like it was binge drinking, you know, and it was an addiction where, you know, I overcame it. You know, me personally. I put the work in. I have been putting the work in. I put the time in. You know, this is the first time in my life that I can actually have alcohol in my house for guests that come over.
Yeah.
You know, before there would be no alcohol because it'd be all gone. You know, I don't have that, you know, that desire no more. Like, it's so past me, you know, because I have bigger dreams. I have bigger responsibilities now than that disease that I had, you know. And, you know, I alarm clock is a prime example. Some people are like, "Hey, you know, what time do you wake up in the morning? Sometimes you wake up so early to go to the gym or whatever. Does your alarm clock wake you up?" I go, "No." And the reason for that is I have a competition with the alarm clock. I have it that I need to wake up before the alarm clock, because the alarm clock, if it rings and I don't, well, the alarm clock just won.
Then you lose. Yeah.
Then I lose, right?
Yeah.
To this day, I haven't lost to it.
Wow.
So I'm always waking up before the alarm goes off, you know, just to say, "Haha, turn you off. I won."
Yeah.
You know, and that's the same thing with the addiction that I had. It's like, no, I'm not going to let it win. I'm going to win.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, like I said, there's people out there that have reached out saying, "Hey, you know, like, can you help me, this and that?" And I tell them, like I told you before, I'm not a professional, but what I've done and how I've overcome it, I know how I've done it, and I can guide you in the right way.
Yeah.
And for me, you know, and people that want to reach out, you need to know that this ain't easy. You know, you got to put the work in. You got to put the work in order to get the results you want. You know, you can't go to the gym for 2 weeks and say, "Well, my muscles ain't growing," or "I haven't lost any fat."
Exactly.
Well, you know how long it took you to grow that fat? And it's going to take time now to lose that fat.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the same thing with alcohol, right? And drinking and the addiction, that it's not overnight success. You know, it sometimes, you know, you can't overcome it. You need more support to do that. You know, knock on wood, great thing there's wood around. I had, you know, my mind set that I'm going to make sure I overcome it.
Yeah. Do you find that something that you constantly have to remind yourself of, or is it just kind of instilled in you now? It's like, I don't drink.
It's like driving now. It's like driving. The speed limit is 80. You know you're not going to go above 80, right? You know you're going to basically going to be at that speed because you don't want a ticket no more.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with drinking, right? You know that alcohol is not good. You can look at it, but you can't touch it, right? You can look at the 100 on your odometer, but you ain't going to go over because you know what the result is. You're getting a ticket.
Yeah.
You know? Same thing with alcohol. You can look at that alcohol, but you can't touch it, because if you drink it, well, you're going into a relapse.
Yeah.
That relapse is going to be deadly, and it's going to take you a while to get out of that.
Yeah. Do you find that, for me personally, I don't drink very much, but I find that just having it's almost a bigger harm to myself going back to, like, not that I ever drink seriously, but it's almost a bigger harm to myself drinking, because then I know, like you said, you wake up the next day, it knocks you out of your routine, and sure, you had a night worth of fun, but then you had a week's worth of recovery. So
100%.
it's do you find that keeping busy and having bigger dreams for yourself is aided you in the process of keeping away from alcohol?
You hit it bang on. That is exactly what I tell people as well. For me, where my success came, keeping active, keeping busy. If you can't do that, so the mind is so amazing. The mind is something that, you know, you can change or you can keep the same way. You know, like we spoke about earlier today, you need to do things to make you uncomfortable to be comfortable, right?
Yes.
Same thing with the mind. You need to put your mind in a very uncomfortable situation to now make it comfortable to be in that situation, right? So for me, it was definitely, the gym was my safe haven, right? Obviously coaching my daughter now too, work, just always keeping busy, and especially in the crucial is that first year. If you can get over that year, there's a good chance that you're gonna be on a better path. One person I tip my hat to him is Eminem, an amazing artist. I believe he's on his 15th or 16th year of sobriety.
Oh wow!
Something outrageously impressive.
Yeah,
it's in that very high number, right? But that's someone that is in the public eye, and sobriety is something that he lives for.
That's amazing. I had no idea that he was even that's something that he takes part in, being one of the biggest artists. I think it's super cool. And Mike Tyson said this as well. This is just a quote that I like. But he said, if God really wanted to test you, then he'd give you everything in the world. And it's really cool to see people that do have everything. Yeah. Or suppose, monetarily wise, that they still choose that path, which is amazing. So, what have you noticed by partaking in sobriety, shift in your social circle as well?
It's funny how you mentioned that. I was actually thinking of that yesterday, and I've thought about it before too. It's been a massive shift, right? In the sense of you're not going out as much at all. Yeah. If anything, right? You're not getting those phone calls to go out. Yeah. You're not getting those friends to come over and have drinks. All of that's gone. Yeah. Now it's basically you against the world. Yeah. I was, like I said, I was that guy that was always out socializing, and all that. I don't have that passion no more. Yeah. When sobriety, has hit. Yeah. For me, like I said, my biggest desire now is to continue growing Breaking the Silence, right? Continue growing BTS to a level that I know it can get to and achieve. And then once it hits that level, I have children that are going to be adults that are ready to take the reins. Yeah. And for me, it's sitting here, having this interview again, saying, 10 years later, Roman, we made it. Yeah. And we've made such a big difference because of that.
What does that mean to you?
You know what? The meaning to me on that, I really haven't thought about yet. For me, it's more getting there and getting the individuals really involved to making sure we're hand in hand in the movement, right? That's the biggest, and obviously have Surgeon Singh Singera tattooed on my arm. The reason why we started Breaking the Silence. Growing up with Surgeon, we did everything together. Played soccer, you name it, right? He was a few years younger. Not knowing he had any type of mental health issue. It's like I said, it was still at that time, this was 10 years ago now, it was frowned upon. And I love his family to death. His family tried to do everything, tried to get him as much support. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the individual. The individual, that is their mind. Your mind is your mind, my mind is my mind. And after finding out that suicide is the reason why he took his life, that's when I said, you know what? Put up those socks, and it's time to go to work. Yeah. Right? And I still remember to this day, he would always say, Raja, he called me Raja. He's like, Raja, I know you'll do something for me. And I didn't know this was the calling for. Yeah. I would never in a million years have ever thought that Breaking the Silence was something I was going to create. Yeah. But here I am today, right? Wanting people to join the movement, wanting people to be passionate, wanting people to know that, hey, we're in this together. Yeah. You are not alone. I'm here to support. I'm supporting you, you're supporting someone else. It's all going to come together in a circle. Yeah.
Do you find it more beneficial for you personally reaching out to somebody that you know that's there to support you, or somebody that you don't know? What would you prefer?
For me, it would have to be that I know. I know, like, I've got a handful of close friends that I consider brothers that to this day I'm still shocked that they put up with the BS, you want to call it, that I put them through. You know, like, I still, to this day remember getting this phone call from my brother-in-law, Jag, who's one of the co-founders, Deepa. They call him Jag, but I call him Deepa. And he, on the other side of the phone, I'm just like, man, he's pissed. And this is an individual, if you meet him, you won't ever see a bad bone in this guy. Like, he's never pissed. Like, he's just like, you can say whatever to him and he'll laugh it off, you know? And just on the other side, him just giving it to me, like, him going like, what are you doing? Like, you're so much better than this, and so on and so forth. And it hit me, and this is like, basically when I was like, I'm done with this. And it hit me, I'm like, man, I've caused this man so much pain. Like, he's been helping me so much. And the least I can do is listen to him and just not be a fool. Give up drinking. And he says it the best. He goes, you are such a gifted individual. You don't need a drink to have fun. Because you have the energy without alcohol. Where he goes, other people, they need it just to have a conversation. And he's right. I don't. And that's where, I really have focused on myself having good times without alcohol. I can be around people that are drinking 100%. But then there's that limit. That it's when they start getting too much, then I'm just like, see you later. You
do have to kind of just dismiss yourself at times.
It
is funny because alcohol is such a widely accepted drug that people don't even like. People think there's something wrong with you for not drinking. Which is quite a funny thing. You know what?
And I've been really, blessed to have, like I said, the circle of friends. My friends are like, hey, you know what? We'd rather have you never drink again because you'll still have fun with us than drink again, right? So it's been very supportive. And, same thing. No one has ever questioned, hey, man, why aren't you having a drink? I think it's also society now is starting to change where now less and less people are starting to not drink. Where back then, like, we had parties, with our parents would have parties and there was drinking going on just openly, obviously then it turned on to us where we were having these parties. And now I'm showing my kids that, hey, you don't need to have alcohol at these parties in order to have fun. Your dad has alcohol at home, but he's not drinking it. You know what I mean? So it's really been a role model too. We're obviously talking about mental health, that mental health is also, don't get me wrong, like I said, surgeon, great family, great career he had going, that sometimes it's the environment too. It's not always. Every situation is different. But if you're in a household where you're always fighting, there's drugs, there's alcohol, who knows what's going on, well, chances are, your child is not going to turn out to be a good child mentally. But if you're keeping the child positive, you're keeping yourself positive, that's what's the key to your success of mental health, And I tell people, we always tell others, hey, Roman, man, I love you, this and that. But how many times do you actually tell yourself you love yourself? So that's something that, I tell people and tell myself more and more every day. I'm like, Raju, I love you, man. You are an amazing human being for what you've done and where you've come today. That's something that you really need to focus on, is talking to yourself in a positive sense than negative.
For people that don't necessarily view themselves in that way, it could be quite a challenge, I'm sure, to make that mental shift. How did you make that shift for yourself? Was it purely based on your actions and making sure that what you did aligned with who you are? Or was it more so a matter of making that just more of a mental thing? Just acknowledging, sure, I've messed up in the past, but I still need to love myself for what's led me to where I am.
See, the past is the past. The past is something that you can never replace. The future, what you look forward to, that is something that you're building yourself up to be better. Now, when it comes down to, me 3 years ago, would I be having those conversations? Hey, Raju, I love you. No, because I didn't. I didn't love myself. I love that bottle. I love that alcohol so much more that I was saying, and it's true. I would, when I'd have that drink, I'd say, oh man, I love you so much. Because that was the addiction that I loved. And that addiction isn't in my life no more. So I don't love it. Now what's in my life is sobriety and positivity.
Yeah.
And mentally, that has what's triggered me to love myself again. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you think it's hard to love yourself?
No. And the reason why I say no is when you find that love will not go away. Right? Because then you get so addicted to that love, wanting to love yourself.
Yeah.
Because then that's the addiction that you want to strive for.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
That's the addiction that you want to actually live for.
Yeah.
It's not the addiction that's frowned upon, that's messing up your life.
Yeah.
Because this addiction, which is loving yourself, is positive. And it's bringing smiles to your face.
Yeah.
Where if I'm sitting here having this alcohol and I'm belligerently drunk and saying I love you, that smile is not going to be on your face. It's going to be disgust. It's going to say, what is this guy doing?
Yeah.
But me saying, man, I'm loving myself and I can't live without loving myself, that's a smile that you want to see on your face and other faces.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. That's definitely not talked about enough, because I feel like a lot of people do live for other people and they don't acknowledge, to what extent do you have to be selfish with your love for yourself?
Very. You have to be. Because if you, and like I said, you asked that question, after drinking, how did that change your social life and stuff? Completely.
Yeah.
That's something that people need to realize, that and that it's scary for people. They're like, man, this guy or this girl, that girl, they're never going to talk to me again. Well, they never should have been with you. Or they never should have been in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where now, if you love yourself, you will have the right people around you to love you. And if you don't, well, they will come attracting to you.
Yeah. That's one of the other questions I want to ask is, how do you cultivate that group of people who love you for who you are? Is it just a matter of being yourself and you will attract? Or is it something more so that you have to search for?
You don't need to search for anything, right? The only thing you have to search for is your inner peace and your inner love for yourself. Once you've searched for it, once you've looked around, it's like searching around for that last puzzle piece. Where is it? Is it on the floor? I can't find it. But once you find it and you put that last puzzle piece to make sure that puzzle is now complete, that's when your life will be complete.
And that is not something that you search for.
No.
That is something that comes to you once you've done your personal work.
Perfect. You hit it perfectly on, because when you've done that, then everything starts to attract you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Positive energy will always attract positive people. The negativity will not. Right?
Do you think that doesn't attract do you believe that negativity does not attract positive, or do you think that it attracts negative?
So
or both.
Both, okay. Right? But let's say you're a negative person. There is zero chance I'm going to be around you because I'm a positive person. But if I'm a negative person myself and I want the gossip and I want that kind of stuff, I want that lifestyle, I'm going to be attracting you, right? So there's those types of groups, right? And now you're also more selective. You're selective with who you want to be with, who is in your circle of friends. Because, my nana, he always used to say, there's 5 friends on one hand that you can count, right? And in the other hand, it's the associates, right? But after that, there's nothing. You know what I mean? So now, I can count the 5.
Yeah.
And that's a big number for me, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
Growing up, I had tons of friends, Plenty of them. You know, to this day, I'll still say hi to them, but are they friends? No, they're just acquaintances.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't need that many acquaintances. And that's another thing that mentally can really lead up to, you know, things that you don't want them to lead up to.
Yeah. So you would say that shift from being young to where you're at now was a shift from quantity more to quality.
Correct. Yeah. Because now, at an older age, that's when you realize that quality is more important than quantity. Right? Because what you have with quality is what's going to keep you essentially positive.
Yeah. And let's say that someone in your life that you deeply admire or may even be a family member is suffering and they do tend to be very negative. To what extent can you, like, because by being positive and selfish with your self-love and with your energy, how do you make that balance of, like, I want to help you, but you're being negative?
I've been lucky enough not to have encountered that as much. Now, if I was to encounter it, I guess it comes down to limitations, right? And like I told you before, I'm not a counselor. I'm someone that has gone through it and will tell you how I've gone through it and my story behind it. So I could tell them, hey, you know, what you're doing is obviously not the right thing, but are you ready to take the next step? Now, the reason why I said I haven't encountered anyone, people that have reached out are ready to take the next step, right? Yeah. So they're not, they want to now take that next step to be better, right? So that's why I haven't really encountered someone that is negative, because those negative people, they're not ready to take the next step, right? So I'm not in that circle of that negativity to get them the help that they want. If that makes sense.
I keep asking you questions like you are a counselor, just because of your background and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I do think that you definitely have valuable advice.
Yeah.
But let's get more to breaking the silence now. What is in the foreseeable future for breaking the silence?
So much. Like I said, I mean, we're going to be doing this in 10 years again. Yeah. So there'll be year 20 that we had just completed. But now it's, you know, like I said, you know, breaking the silence is about to take it to another level, right? It's like we're going mainstream. We're hitting those bars, you know. We're hitting those bars in the sense of, you know, in March, Breaking the Waves was introduced at the water park. How phenomenal was that?
That was unreal.
Right?
I haven't seen anything like that. Super cool.
So that's another event that we've added. We have the walk that we just completed. Now we have the golf tournament that's coming up. So it's now adding more events because the more events you can add, the different types of individuals will be coming and really spreading and being involved in the movement. Because like I said, this is a movement we've created, right? Some people may not come to the run, but come to Breaking the Waves. They're part of that movement of breaking the silence, right? The next goal is, you know, eventually to, you know, take the walk to a different city. You know, I shouldn't say take it, introduce it to another city, right? Possibly Calgary, you know? So kind of have it like that Terry Fox run where it's gone nationally, right? But it's getting the right people involved, right? Having the right people involved in order for us to really expand it to other cities. That's what now I'm kind of focusing to see if we can, you know, get that started sooner than later.
Are there any missing pieces, or is it just a matter of scaling what you have?
Oh, there's not missing pieces. There's missing people.
Missing people. Okay.
It's missing people. Now we have, you know, your beautiful mom on board, which is phenomenal. You know, like this year, you know, Susie, you know, I was like, Susie, I need someone to now start taking over sponsorship, you know, getting people, making sure that, you know, their sponsorship is going to be coming. And she just flew with it. You know how your mom is. Yeah. You know,
she's been chatting to me about it like every single day.
I love it.
Oh, but this. Oh, but the video of this. But this. I'm like, okay. Like, she's
she's involved.
So, exactly. It's really cool to see her take a role like that in an organization like Breaking the Silence.
100%. You know, and that's something that, you know, you cannot teach someone, right? The passion is either in you or not, you know. And when she, you know, she came and said she wanted to do it, I'm like I knew she was going to crush it, but how she did it, she crushed it, right?
Yeah.
But that's not a piece, that's a person that I was missing.
Yeah.
Now I've found a person there, you know. So it's just finding the right people has been difficult, right? And to expand it to different cities, that's where, you know, now I need to start finding those individuals to say, hey, this is what Breaking the Silence is. We've started this movement. Do you want to be involved? Do you have the passion for it?
Yeah.
Because once that gets going, everything just channels off.
Smooth sailing.
Smooth sailings.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a movement that you want to be involved in if you have the passion for it.
Yes, definitely.
You know?
What was the response like from the vendors and everybody? Because just based on what I heard, like, it seemed like people don't really realize how big it is until they're there.
Yeah.
Like, people, it's kind of like just shocking to people to see, because when you say, oh yeah, there's an event going on, mental health, is like, okay, nice. Who's really going to be there? Like a mental health walk. And then you go and it's like, what was the turnout this year?
Over 1,500.
1,500 people in like the Millwoods racetrack.
Yes.
Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see. What was the response like from the vendors?
It was phenomenal. Like, you know, we're still getting emails saying, hey, put us down for next year. Like, it was so awesome seeing everyone else. But you're right, because if you think about it, for people that haven't been there, the first thing you're thinking, mental health, depression, mental health, anxiety. And you're thinking, oh, these are the types of people that are going to be there. Man, I don't want to be there. It's going to be negative.
Yeah.
But no, it's not.
Yeah.
Even if people have that, it's okay. We're in this together.
Yeah.
But it's the positive energy that every single person there has either been through it or going through it.
Yeah.
Those are the individuals that are there.
Yeah.
And being there with everyone, like, it's, like I said, like, it, for the feedback that we've been getting and got has just been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Especially for people that have never been to it before. They're like, wow, we didn't know how great this is.
Yeah.
There's a few people, and their exact words are, our biggest regret is not knowing this event existed earlier.
Yeah.
And I laugh and say, you know what, don't worry. In 10 years, they'll say you're 20 and you've been involved, right?
Exactly.
But it is true. People are like, we wish we had known about this before.
Yeah.
So this is something that is going to continue growing because the word's going to keep spreading, right? You won't see, you know, media people out there, because media people, they want to see negativity.
Exactly.
You know, at first few years, I was like, you know, you got to get all these newscast people and all these reporters out there. No one showed up. And that's when I was like, you know what? You don't need to show up.
Yeah.
The people that show up are the ones that actually want to make a difference and want to actually be together in this movement, right? Where if you don't want to show up, go get your negative news, you know, because I don't care for any of that, you know?
It's really upsetting, actually, because that's what they do focus on, and that's what brings attention. So. One thing that I'm curious about from the early phases of Breaking the Silence is how did you bring a crowd to an event like this in the first place? Because just starting that out, it's a very vulnerable thing. Like, you're telling people to come here for mental health and be open about how they feel. How did you start that off in the early phases when there's not already a crowd to support the cause?
That's a great question, because back then, the first year we did it was in October, and we're like, hey, you know what, October, it's Mental Health Month. Amazing turnout. Like, I think we had
on the very first one.
For the first one, yeah, we had, I want to say, about between 300 to 500 people that came out.
Yeah,
and it was a blizzard, but people still came out. Right? It was because it was so fresh for what had just happened with Surgeon.
Yeah,
and Surgeon also, you know, knew a lot of people. So because it was so fresh, it was a lot of people that knew him and knew us and wanted to be there to support. And then it started to really, you know, the wheel started spinning.
Yeah.
You know, year 2 got bigger, year 3 got bigger, year 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
And this is where we are now, that it's only getting bigger and bigger. And the way it's also getting bigger now is, like I said, word of mouth. Word of mouth. that is the key thing, right? We don't want people just coming out there, like I stated before, just to eat and leave. We want to know that you got something out of that. And what was the message that you got out of that as well?
That's why I really enjoyed with the videos.
Yeah.
Doing those little interviews.
Yeah, which was phenomenal.
Because people really, you see that people come there why they're supposed to be there. It's not like, oh, I came because there's pancakes and because there's all this delicious food.
Yeah.
There's really a passionate crowd of people that are here for the same cause.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, how was that? Did you plan to create it as an annual event in the right off the bat?
Oh yeah, yeah. This was something that I was like, you know what, for Surgeon and for everyone out there that's struggling and everyone out there that wants to know more about mental health and really break the stigma around it, we want to do this yearly.
Yeah.
Right. And like I said, for years and years now, I can say I still can't believe it's 10 years to tell you the truth. But it's become annual and it's going to continue to be annual, right? It's going to be, it's like almost like a legacy that is going to be left behind, you know? And it's something that I take very dearly with a responsibility that I have now. And obviously the passion's there, but it's a responsibility that I think I have now to make sure that this succeeds for decades to come.
Yeah.
You know, and then once it's handed down to the right individuals that are going to continue to do it, that they see the hard work that I put into it.
Yeah.
For them to continue to grow it as well.
Where do you do you have a passion for this before Surgeon, or was that something that you just sort of brought the light to your eyes and made you really see, oh, this is something that I do stand for and want to support? Because like you said, at that time it wasn't as common, or maybe people didn't even talk about it at all. So was that something that came up for you after the incident, or was that always something that was a recurring theme in your life?
No, like I said, this would never have happened if Surgeon was still around. Like back then I would put on pretty big soccer tournaments and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've always had a passion for putting things on.
Yeah.
But not like this.
Yeah.
Not to the level that, Breaking the Silence has got. And like I said, I surely, do it for the passion and love I have and I still have for Surgeon.
Yeah.
And just making sure that the support that is needed out there, the stigma is going to be broken, right? We're going to bury that stigma. And it's, like I said, it's a responsibility that I put on myself. And I shouldn't say I put pressure on myself, because I really don't. Because, at the end of the day, pressure is a good thing, but I don't think there's any pressure to do this. But it's the passion behind it that I have for Surgeon and for everyone else that's out there that's struggling with mental health. And just, like I said, I didn't ever in a million years think that I was going to be doing this, but here we are today, right?
Yeah. What is, for you, coping with emotions? To what level, for you to get up after hearing about Surgeon and just, like you said, pulling up your socks and be like, let's get this event going? Do you find that this was a much better way of coping than maybe sitting there with your feelings because it was a different way of expressing them? Or did you find that you could use that time to sit back and just bask in how you feel about the situation?
For me, the biggest reason why I wanted to do this is for Surgeon's legacy to never, ever die. Was it part of the coping? Yes. But then I also had the alcohol that I was coping with.
Yeah.
Right? That I got even deeper with. The biggest reason is I didn't want his name to ever be forgotten. I didn't want other people to be in the situation that I was in, right? I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to make a difference starting that day I found out this is the reason why his life was taken away, right? I put it on myself to making sure that we start this event right away in order to have, year 10 where we are today, right? And I'd be very honest with you, and I take very big pride in saying it, that if I didn't take that ownership of saying I'm going to do this year one, it probably wouldn't have started, right? And where it is today, it's right in front of you, right? It's at a different level, and it's at a level that it's going to continue growing. And, together, like I said, we're going to definitely squash and, break the stigma around it.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect note to end off.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's been Enlighten the Youth, episode 6. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. Episode 6. This has been Raju Virk and Roman Rendawa. Do you have a closing statement you'd like to throw in before we end it off here?
You know what? Just in the closing, first of all, I want to thank you, and for what you do for breaking the silence is phenomenal. At such a young age, you taking on this I would never have thought of doing this either, and, me, I know I've been busy, but I'm like, no, Roman always, when I tell him to do something, he's going to jump on it and help me out. So, I applaud you, and you should, really be proud of what you're doing.
Thank you. I
and
really appreciate it.
Yeah. And then, and everyone that's watching out there, the biggest thing is loving yourself, and making sure every single day you're saying that you love yourself. Because when you can start loving yourself and making sure that you are someone that cares for yourself first, everything around you will be better. And when everything around you is better, this thing here, which is the mind, does amazing things to keeping yourself positive.
I hope you guys can take that little closing statement and implement it into your own lives. But that has been Enlighten the Youth, episode 6. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and thank you for tuning in once again. See you guys. Perfect. Amazing, man.
Once again.